Man, thank goodness.
Hey, Jackson.
Hey, how are you, buddy? How's things?
Good,
We're
good.
Straight into it
how are
today,
you?
aren't we? Yeah, going well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
What's going on, mate? Go on. I was going to say
it's always a crazy week in crypto, isn't it? It's always something that keeps us entertained.
It really is, dude. It really is a crazy week in crypto because, I mean, I've got a few clips to play. There's all sorts of. I mean, you definitely caught that SBF Eric Voorhees debate. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That was good. He absolutely roasted him. So you've got some clips from that, have you? Or?
I've got a couple. I've got yeah. He pieced him up. He pieced him up absolutely. But we were just having a chat before that. We thought that, like, I mean, either SBF, that dude, is just absolutely looking out for self-interest, like wanting to be like Gates type character, someone who's just like owns the game.
I'd agree
or
with that.
he's compromised, or he's a compromised individual.
I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. So I think he's
that's true.
Yeah, so he's and when you say compromise, he doesn't have to have been like he's an agent or anything like that, but he's let's say heavily influenced by the people he's hanging around, and if you're knocking around those circles, you start to think the way other people think, and obviously influenced heavily by the people you knock around. And if it's the traditional system, then that's going to rub off on him, and he's going to want to do things in that traditional way where he's.
So we should give everyone a bit of context for people who haven't seen that debate. It's definitely worth going to check out. So we'll take a step back. We're the HEX Late Show. We talk about a product called HEX, which is a smart contract which resides on the Ethereum blockchain. And it's something that you can interact with without any third parties, right? You can just interact directly with that contract. Now, so this debate is sort of, in some ways, central to what HEX is about, because HEX is like one of the only true DeFi products out there, right? Would you agree with that? Because it doesn't
true DeFi. Yeah, there's some slim pickings. We're definitely up there with the top few, I would imagine.
Yep. So what was this debate about? They were debating, I guess it was very nuanced. So what Eric was debating was basically that he wanted like as much decentralization as possible. He wants to maintain like the current status quo of decentralizations, and that would include, the front ends, like the websites that interact with these contracts, not being regulated. Not like you who want to make a front end for a contract that's on the blockchain, not needing to register, like get a registration and getting the government tick of approval,
licensing and whatever.
So he was arguing against that sort of thing, whereas SBF, whilst he wasn't like absolutely for it, he seemed to be of the opinion that they were going to give up something, and that's what they needed to give up. They needed to give up that was his argument, sort of,
If you had to choose one of your kids to sacrifice, which one would you sacrifice? Is essentially the way he was putting it. Not in those words, but if you got to throw someone to the lions, what would you do? And it was, okay, protect the protocol at all costs, but maybe you could sacrifice the front ends.
So one of the like a really good point that Eric made in that debate was that if you're gonna essentially stop US citizens from to use decentralized front ends, you're going to exclude 99% of people from that decentralized system. So that was his argument.
Yeah, I don't know about the numbers whether the US makes up 99%, but it'd be a fair swag, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, 99% of the US population who deal in crypto are not going to be able to deal in crypto without that front end. There's going to be a certain portion of the population that will still know how to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But it was great debate.
I actually think it was really telling. It was a really good interview, and it was more of a debate, and I wouldn't say it was a really great debate, but what it was great in the way that it exposed SBF for I think his true intentions, because he just couldn't bring himself to say, oh yeah, we should protect these front ends at all cost. He could not get to that. It was always hedging it, but if we've got to give something up, that's what. Just assume we have to give something up. That was his default position. Was it is like he'd already lost the battle. He wasn't even going to go in and try to protect those DeFi front ends. And for him, he's got a very big vested interest to not protect it, because
wouldn't it be great if he was the bottleneck? Wouldn't it be great for FTX if he was the bottleneck that everyone needed to go through? Isn't that great for his back pocket? And by the way, that wasn't pointed out in the debate at all. That was not pointed out in the debate. So the debate was basically won without that point being made. However, that's a very strong point, in my opinion, that he would personally benefit financially, in a massive way from regulation like this happening.
Yep. Yeah, I think it really showed where he sits in the whole space. So he sits in that heavily regulated, very much on the TradFi side of things, but he inches into crypto to expose that to this regulatory side. Now, obviously, I know he does a lot more than that. He's got a layer 1 blockchain and things like that. So definitely does more, but I think that's his real main focus and drive, is on that regulatory side. And then you've got Eric, who comes at it from a total opposite point of view, which is we're all about protecting the protocol, protecting the decentralization aspect and the free and open access. So it was good because they're both polar sides of the argument. I don't know. I honestly don't. I expected more of a coherent argument out of Sam, to be honest. He couldn't string 2 words together, mate. The ums and likes, and I just couldn't make any sense of what he was saying half the time. He would rant for 5 or 10 minutes and not actually make a point. It was quite frustrating from that point of view.
So I've got one clip I'll play this clip from that debate, which is just something. Look, I don't really have any clips of SBF because it just wasn't. Nothing he was saying was very interesting at all. But Eric's replies were. They really laid things out, and I think it's important for us to understand. I mean, yes, the money, like money, more money, making money is great. Like that's awesome about crypto. But what's also awesome about crypto is the peer-to-peer nature of it and the permissionless nature of it. Not needing to ask anyone, like being able to send value to someone without any third party and any requirement of a third party, like okaying the transaction, which is basically the world we live in right now. And it's a world where innocent people are unfairly sanctioned, I guess, for innocent people. So
just before you play your clip, so Par Excellence has got a good point there. So the comment, if you could bring that one up, the no point enforcing KYC. No, he's got another one.
The one. Before or after that? Hang on.
Must be before that one. Before that one. Yeah, okay. He's one before that. So this is exactly right. If you've got a front end, so imagine they slap KYC on the HEX front end, but you can go to the contract directly and still interact with the protocol. Is it actually achieving what it set out to achieve? It's not regulating anything. You just, like you say, excluding half the people will be able to do it, half won't.
Yeah, because criminals don't generally follow the law, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Criminals don't follow the law. That's sort of how that works. But good point there, Dozer. Let me play this clip.
To this, should crypto be regulated?
What a question. So I guess first let's consider that, like Sam's proposal, that a stablecoin itself should be regulated at least such that a provider has to prove that it has reserves for the tokens, would be a higher bar than the Federal Reserve itself already applies, right? The Federal Reserve does not prove anything inside it with any degree of auditability or attestability. Banks do not need to prove anything about what they do in any way that is cryptographically verifiable. Us in the crypto industry already have a higher standard of what constitutes knowledge, what constitutes proof. And so it is a little ironic for people from the traditional financial world imposing on us the need to be proving anything, right? We're the ones that prove it cryptographically. So on the point of like whether crypto should be regulated, it's also important to consider that it already is. Crypto is heavily regulated. I know Sam would agree with that. It's been regulated ever since the very beginning. It falls under all sorts of laws in all sorts of jurisdictions. And we dispense with this myth that it's like some void of regulation. I wish that were true. That would be my panacea, but it's not. It is encumbered already. Third, I guess I'll say that we have a highly regulated financial system, and we've seen where that status quo has gone. I think we in the industry should step back and ask ourselves, do we want the crypto financial ecosystem to move closer to the traditional financial world? Are we here because we love how that world looks and we want to make crypto resemble that world more? Or are we here because we're trying to build something better? And if it's the latter, I think we need to consider that the regulations are a huge part of why traditional finance has gone where it is now. So I'll leave it there for now.
Really good.
You make some good points.
Okay. Absolutely.
Make some good points that our standard is probably higher already in terms of transparency and provability. So
it's like it comes down to there's this new thing and it's about control. It comes down to control. And, you know, it's a little bit disheartening that SBF has he should be.
It's investor protection. It's investor protection, isn't it, mate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Investor protection.
Investor protection, yeah.
That's what it is.
Protect everyone from getting into something that they can make some money on.
Yeah. So, what did you guys in the chat? By the way, hello to everyone in the chat. Welcome. What did you guys think of that debate, or what did you think of that clip? And I've got a couple more here, so I'll just I'll tee them up.
Have you got you haven't got the one about the email analogy?
I
think that was right towards the end. He put that one there. It was a cracker. And
yeah. I'm not sure I did get that one, but it's, look, that's interesting, but email is centralized anyway. So I'm not that, I don't think that that's such a great point personally, because if you want to, you can set up your own email server, but your emails will get flagged by everyone else as being spam, so they're not going to get through. That's sort of,
that's more of it. I don't think that's true. I think it's more about
it absolutely is true. You go onto like all the big players, like the Googles, the Yahoos, the Hotmail, like all the big players have blacklists. And if you're not in the group of, like, if you're not an email address or an IP address that they recognize, they blacklist you. And then you have to constantly, it's almost like a job in itself to constantly remove yourself from these blacklists. So it's centralized in that way.
I think if you do things,
that's a whole.
Right
can I just say that's a whole like discussion. Just emails.
It is, but the I guess the point of that is it's freely open and accessible. Anyone can
use the protocol.
Server.
Yeah,
that's right.
Anyone can use the
and if you do things in the right way, like I ran mail servers for a long time, and I rarely had issues like that if you're configuring it right so that it's provable and set up your DNS and things like that right. But it is. And
how long ago was that though? Like, are we talking a few years back?
I haven't done it for a while.
Things have shifted. Things have shifted in the last
possibly
5-10 years.
Possibly.
The big players do the cloud email, like, really. I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it. You can definitely do it.
It's in their interest to filter, isn't it?
Dude, it just becomes a massive job. So it's just one of those things that the average person can't do it. It's just like the front end. It's like, for me, it's just like the front end thing.
But I guess the biggest thing is that is that regulated, or is that just the way the industry's gone because they're trying to cut down on spam and things like that?
Yeah, and that's where his argument stands up. Like, there is no KYC to run use the email protocol. Like, if you want to use SMPT, you do not have to go and KYC to use that protocol.
Like, I think
if you want to go to the RPC, so not the RPC, the what's it called? There's a spec that you need to follow if you're writing a program. Yeah. But they're called, what are they called? RPCs? Oh, I forget what they're called.
Another one you're thinking of, ITFs or ITEF or something like that, or is that the one you're referring to? Like this, not important. But though I think that the point is that's become probably self-regulated is not the right word, but the industry started imposing things to try and cut down on spam and stuff like that. So there's no regulatory things that have come in and said you need to do X, Y, and Z. And as an industry, if we seen something getting a bit out of shape, we would do whatever we could within code or whatever to try and make things better. I don't know that you need. It doesn't have to be forced upon you by regulatory authorities to do it. Someone's saying we've got a big lag between the two of us.
Could be the case. I am in Europe and Jexa is in Australia. So, two countries that are not known for their brilliant internet connections. So, if I can bring it up here.
But to use that word respect, I think, was a little bit revealing. And I wanted to counter that because OFAC should not be respected. And it perhaps bears discussion on why. So OFAC stands for the Office of Foreign Assets Control. It's part of the Department of the Treasury, and they maintain sanctions lists. And people, companies, organizations, and entire countries are on this list. It is illegal under current law for any American person or any American business to do business with anyone on these sanctions lists. So why is it unethical? Well, it includes entire countries. So in my post, I talked about Iran. It is illegal for any American to do business with an Iranian. This is patently unethical and is the kind of thing which we in the industry should be highlighting as emblematic of the status quo financial system and something that we vehemently oppose. It is not okay that an American cannot send money to a brave Iranian woman who is standing up for her freedom in that country just because she was born in that country. We should be reflecting on this as a people, and like, what kind of financial system do we want to be designing in the future? I don't think we want to be designing one where 80 million innocent people are excluded from the financial system. So yes, as Americans, do we have to follow OFAC as law? Yes. Should we respect it? Absolutely not. And my request here is for someone as preeminent as Sam to make that distinction and say, even if it must be followed right now, it is not an ethical body of law. The reason this is important is because the moral premises under which these regulations get imposed on us are important. They're always cast down as if we have these morally prescient individuals in the government that know what's right and wrong, and they keep us, the Wild West crypto industry, from acting badly. That needs to be challenged. We are building actually more virtuous financial systems than what exists today. And OFAC was a good example of that. So I'll pause there for a second.
So that's a really interesting idea, that crypto, what's being built in way of permissionless crypto networks is actually a more virtuous system than the legacy system. I find that a really compelling argument that's being made here by Eric, like very compelling, because we see what the legacy system does and how it operates. You know, I like the idea of people not being sanctioned just because of the country they're born in. You know, that to me that seems like really it's just like an unfair thing. It's just not fair. You know,
yeah,
it's not fair at all.
I mean, say what you like about the Bitcoin maximalist, but I do agree with one of their principles is this aspect of Bitcoin being totally decentralized and out of the influence of nation states, so that you've got essentially a layer that anyone can transact on, and it's free of, I guess, free of being able to be shut down or censored by one particular nation state. So there's a very much a vested interest in the US putting the mockers on crypto as fast as they can, or as much as they can, because they have the most to lose in terms of being a world reserve currency. At the moment, they can pull many, many levers that have an impact around the world. And you would like to think that this Finance 2.0 could make that a more level playing field. Who gets to decide what the rules are? Who gets to choose? Just because one country says one thing, does that mean they get to decide it for everyone or the rest of the world? So, yeah, that'll probably stir up a few hornets in the chat, no doubt, because
Yeah. So I think we need the CEO of Bitcoin in here.
Yeah.
So where is Tangent? Tangent can't make it, unfortunately. Apologies from him. You're stuck with us, just me and Jexa, and maybe Bluey will make it if he can be bothered to get out of bed.
He'll chime in from another corner of the world.
Okay. So a couple of questions in the chat. Who was it? Someone was disagreeing with me about something. Let's see.
The chat's pretty tame tonight, actually. We haven't triggered anyone yet. We have to try a little bit harder. Maybe everyone's in agreement with what Eric was saying and the general principles, do we think? I hope so, because that's half the reason why we're all here, I believe.
Oh, by the way, what I was saying about like SMPT, what the spec that you write like a client to it's like outlined in RFCs. That's what they're called.
Is that right? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
RFCs. Yeah.
Yep.
There's stuff I used to know that I have
me
to
too. That was
nowadays.
another career ago in a past life.
Yeah, so that basically just, I guess, and there's like, I wonder if I should check this out. Does Bitcoin have an RFC? Check this out. Hey.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, I have another clip. And I think this was the clip where he's just like tying everything. He's just tying a bow around everything. Once again, it's Eric talking here.
Those of us in this ecosystem, this industry, have created essentially a new financial foundation for the whole world. This is a huge responsibility. And the entire purpose of this financial foundation is that all of humanity can use an open, immutable financial layer. We are separating money from politics. We are separating money from the state. And in the same way that the church was separated from the state and everyone now hails that as one of the greatest things that humanity ever did, we now too, it comes to us to do the same for money. Money is as or more important to people than religion is. We interact with it every day in all sorts of manners. And just as mathematics or language are immutable and open to the entire human race, so too should the exchange and management of money. That is the principle that makes this entire ecosystem important. That is the principle that justifies everything that we do. And if we lose that, it will be something that we regret for the rest of our lives because we had that opportunity.
So getting back to the heading of this stream, it was Filthy Crypto Villain Revealed. Who do you think the filthy crypto villain is?
I know who I think it is. Changed. I never had.
Go to the thumbnail, and he's got a clown nose on. Go to the thumbnail.
I didn't even check out the thumbnail. I can't even. How can I see that though? I don't even know how to see that now in the stream.
I'll see if I can bring it up. Hey.
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh, how good did you see that that little bubble like YouTube short? We have to play that, by the way. I'm gonna bust that out because that's a part of the thumbnail. That was a part of the thumbnail as well. Let me just. There we go. This was the thumbnail. No, you can't see that, can you?
No, it's gone.
There
we go. Yeah. He's hiding at the back there. I didn't see him. There you go. I was blinded by RH's costume.
Dude, fucking clown. It's a clown show.
I think he's definitely revealed his colours. And what I was going to say before is, I don't know why it is, but I've never participated or even signed up for an account or anything on FTX. I've never been on Phantom. Like for whatever reason, I don't know whether maybe it was like a sense I had. I just didn't want to participate in anything he was a part of. And I don't know whether I've just picked up those vibes before or not.
Yeah, man, you don't want to be. I mean, I would be if you're on it. I mean, me personally, I'm not on FTX either. But if I was, I would be I would be tipping the fuck off that right now.
Yeah,
ASAP.
Yep. And I think you have seen a few people take that approach as well. I know there's a bit of that going on the Twitters. Everyone saying they were pulling their funds and not using them again. And I think he really has revealed his true colours in that interview. And it wasn't so much what he said; it was what he didn't say as well. Like he's whole.
When someone's arguing an angle, and it's like I'm trying to understand what's behind him holding this position. Like, and the only thing that he said was, they're going to take something. So it might as well be that. Like, that was sort of the argument. It's like, well, fucking argue really hard for it to be.
Yeah. Don't even put it on the table.
Exactly.
And I think that was the crux of Eric's conversation is DeFi shouldn't even be mentioned in this bill at all. There shouldn't be anything to do with DeFi because people don't understand it. It's still an emerging industry. The problems we have, I don't know that the regulation is going to solve that anyway. I mean, bridge hacks and things like that, is that going to solve anything? It's just not going to fix anything. So if their job is to protect the investor, what they're going to do, it's not going to solve any of that. And the reality is where most people have been fucked over this market, this last cycle, has been at centralized organizations, which are already regulated to some degree. They've still got to get licenses and money transmitter licenses and all the bullshit they've got to get. It doesn't actually protect anyone. Those centralized exchanges or things like Celsius and Voyager and the like, they're the ones that have caused a lot of pain. Now, obviously,
they're the ones who have screwed everyone over.
Yeah. It's when you've got a human stuck in the middle of it.
Meanwhile, HEX, 100% uptime, flawless operation for almost 3 years. Coming up on 3 years, like we're 1 month off.
No one can fuck with it. There's no one pushes any buttons. The code just runs.
Yeah.
Don't need anyone to do anything.
Everyone's given HEX shit as well over the. I mean, even Eric Voorhees has called HEX garbage. Like, I mean, and this is where I can separate between him having an opinion. Like, that's his opinion, right? He can have it, but like, and the arguments being made for keeping DeFi, because even if he has that opinion of HEX, it's kind of irrelevant because he still believes HEX should be able to have, operate as a DeFi protocol.
That's right.
And he still believes that it should be, that right should be protected.
Yep.
Or at the protocol level and at the, at the point where users interact with the contract, like via the front end.
But so do you think we're entering a new age? Like we went through the information age. Do you think this is a new age of what would you call it? It's like I don't know, is it a new finance age or something, or is there a decentralized finance age? Do you think it will be come to be known something like that? It'll be something that's actually moved the dial to such a degree that it becomes an age?
What's going on now is big. Like, guys, we're all in crypto. What we're all living through right now, this stuff in years to come, we're going to look back and be like, far out. Like we were there.
Yeah.
We were around when this was happening. Now, the question is, like, how are we going to contribute? Like, how are we going to support how are we going to support our point of view? I mean, talking about it online is, I mean, it helps to bring awareness, but I think that people should run nodes personally. I think people should run Ethereum nodes personally.
Yeah, well,
that's what
whether it's nodes or whatever, it depends. Actually, I'll take it back. It depends on what you have to offer. And if you're not technical in nature, then maybe that's not in your wheelhouse. But everyone has something they can offer the space other than yelling on crypto Twitter. I think everyone should try and find how they can move the space forward in their own way. And look, maybe running nodes. It could be, it could be bloody marketing or whatever it is you do, whatever it is you're good at, rather than just sitting back and let anyone else carry the torch. Stand up and
the thing about running nodes is that right now it is the way it is, but down the track, nodes will be like, well, you'll have light clients in wallets, so you're not going to have to connect up to like Infura. The light client will be incorporated into the wallet itself. There'll be a light client there. So I mean, these are things down the track that Ethereum will probably have, maybe, if they can get it to happen. But what's beautiful about it is that PulseChain will be able to have the same thing as well. That's what's great about it. But let's play this. I want to play this, dude. I'm just like, I love this thing.
Richard Art here in my $3,000 Valentino Rockstud purse, my $3,000 Prada jacket, $2,000 Prada shirt, $2,000 or $3,000 Prada pants, Prada glasses, Prada hat, Prada bracelet, and it's all Prada shirt, Prada hat, Prada glasses, Prada pants, and it's all nylon, so the haters' tears fall right off. Prada shirt, Prada hat, Prada glasses, Prada pants, and it's all nylon, so the haters' tears fall right off.
Lil Bubble, let me ride that rocket.
Everybody, Richard Art here.
I love it.
$3,000.
I love it.
Yeah, little Bubble's been on fire lately, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Little Bubble's a Hexagon, eh?
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard this right. I think Hexo sent him some Hex and he staked it. Is my understanding.
Who sent him Hex?
Hexo.
Oh, really?
Hexologist. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure I heard him say that the other day on his stream. So,
well, so if you guys in the thumbnail, I'll quickly bring up the thumbnail again. Hey, in the thumbnail, you'll notice that there's a white Lambo there. So does anyone know what that white Lambo's from? Anyone? That's a question for the chat. Do you know where this is from? No, you get brownie points. You get brownie points if you know.
I've got absolutely no idea. Is this going to show your age, mate?
Hey, no. Anyone come up with it? No?
No. Cruising USA? That was the Mango Junkie?
Nope. Let me show you.
Oh, it is a game, I'm assuming.
No, it's not. It's not a game.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'll bring it up. Okay, guys, you failed. Hang on. Par excellence.
Snow White Lambo.
He got it. He's got it. There you go. I knew someone had to get it.
So was it a song?
Yeah, it's a Little Bubble song. I'll play it, hey?
You know it's Lil Bubble on the beat too. Yeah, I love it when it bounce like up, down, all night, so right. stars shine so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Woke up at 2:15. Bad dream, but it seems so true. We long, tweets, news, and the shit drop. I ain't ever stopped lost. Oops. Pick my phone up, check it. Hold on, wait a second. Shit was not a dream, it would seem I am wrecking. Twitter feed screaming at the man. Just another day, another scam.
Make it go.
Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Suit in a Snow White land. She asked, did I lose it? I'm like, damn. My girl's yelling, sell, baby, try to understand. This is just another dip, trying to shake the weak hands.
Goddamn, not fair.
Another day, another dollar loss. I don't hate the game, I'm just saying this is what it costs, what it is. Lot of risk, lot of pain, lot of loss.
And let's use risk management.
I ain't got a boss, I just let it go. Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White.
Yeah, Snow White, so bright. We don't need Elon anymore. You're not one of us.
That's pretty clever, isn't it?
Yeah. No, he's. You know what? Like, people should subscribe to him, in my opinion. Hang on, 1 second. Oh, there we go. People should go subscribe to him, I think, because you can go, like, he's got heaps of songs that he's made that's like made for the crypto, like it's specifically crypto related songs, and they're really, really good. In my opinion, they're really, really good. And he occupies a niche in the space, and it's great because he's got the moon suit on. Like I really like it. I'm glad that he put something together that had Richard Hart in it. It's about time, I reckon. About time. I'd actually like to see a full. I'd like to see a full, like, you know, Richard Hart. I'd like to see that expanded out. You know,
I have to hit him up. Little bubble up on Twitter. You might be able to. If everyone goes and gives him a little bit of a nudge, he might do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Show him a little bit of support. Yeah, follow him and sub and whatever you need to do. You know, I have enjoyed witnessing the last week on crypto Twitter, and that's Elon. He's been throwing grenades left, right, and center.
Oh yeah,
it's been awesome to watch. Like he's basically sacked the CEO, just ditched the rest of the board this morning, gone in there and just absolute with a wrecking ball, just getting rid of people that are lazy, having lattes and playing around.
Do you know what made me laugh? How he, I think it was on Twitter, how he posted like, I'm at Twitter HQ, and he's carrying a sink, and he's like, let that sink in.
Let it sink in. Yeah. Man,
love it.
He's gone in there. He's not holding back. It's the amount of change that the perception I get is the amount of change that's going on. He's not wasting any time. So good to see. It's good flush out. And I think
speaking of flushing out, dude, did you see the interview that a Cabana Crypto they did on the Cabana Crypto channel with the Motley Investor?
Really?
And the gentleman who wrote the Forbes article, which was like a hatchet job on HEX. So they actually got him on and like just talked him through, you know, certain points, you know, that he had made. And it was a fantastic interview. I suggest people go and watch that on Cabana's channel because I thought they handled that quite well. And I've got a clip from that. So let me bring that up. Hey.
But again, I don't think it's a matter of if, but when. So that's why I push back when you have like trolls like Mike Alfred. They're like, oh, it's never going to launch. Or HEX, he was actually asked on Crypto Man Rand's YouTube show, like Richard, him, and a buddy of his were on. They Crypto Man Ren asked him, like, when do you think you think HEX is a scam, when do you think it's going to fail? And he's like, oh, it needs like another 5 years to slow bleed. It's like, okay, so it's existed for 3 years, had a 10,000x, outcompeting Bitcoin, Ethereum. It's going on to its second cycle, and you say it needs another 5 years. You think it needs almost a decade more to fail? I've never seen a Ponzi that requires a decade to fail in the crypto space. It just doesn't make any sense. Instead, you have something that has $3 billion locked up for 6.7 years that's never existed before. Like, I find that bullish. I don't find that a net negative for the system crashing and collapsing. It's not a Luna stable coin where it's designed to hyperinflate as people make a run on the bank. It's not a Celsius where you give up your keys, not your crypto. It's none of these things. It's true decentralized finance. And all the signs point to be it revolutionary and probably one of the biggest impactful cryptocurrencies we'll see next cycle. So all the people talking shit, I'm going to love it when we go back into our next bull cycle like we've done many years now. We go from bear to bull, and you'll see HEX probably perform better than any other cryptocurrency. You'll probably see PulseChain, PulseX. And so all the haters are going to look really freaking stupid when there's another hundreds, thousands of X on the table that they left there, and their audience missed out on it, not for the first time, but the second time now. So this is why I have issues with these people like Mike Alfred that like to be Twitter trolls, but then they delete even that thread that you referenced. He deleted it. He didn't stand behind the statements he made. He deleted it. He got his mom to buy the Bitcoin top at 60K. He was proud of it. He deleted that tweet. The guy's Bitcoin mining company is down 80%. Bitcoin's only down 70%, right? That's a good one to pull off. Good job, Mike Alfred. Maybe instead of trying to get clout and trolling on Twitter and deleting his tweets, maybe he should focus on his own business that's failing horribly and not worry about the decentralized product that's been running flawlessly for the past 3 years. That was the biggest issue that I really had with the whole article. And
when HEX goes back up again and hits a new all-time high, I'll write it and I'll quote you in it and I'll say you called it way back when.
Appreciate that.
Boom.
Motley smashed that so hard. He smashed it so hard, man.
I reckon that was 3 years of shit he wanted to get off his chest in that one sprout.
Dude, he was just whipping that guy relentlessly. It was like great. A scene out of like the Passion of the Christ or something. It was horrific. It was just tearing him to pieces.
What shits me though is, so this guy writes for Forbes, and most people would look at Forbes and go, that's pretty respectable. They've probably got really good people writing articles and shit like that. This guy, like, zero research, not a lie, minimal research, very loose with the way he cobbled the story together to paint it in a, like you say, a hatchet job was the best way to describe it. Good on him for coming up and having a chat about it, but it just shows you, like, that's one article, and this is for what's supposed to be a pretty well recognized brand. That's the level that we're getting out of journalists these days. It's fucking trash. That flows back into what I'm saying. That's why Elon's gone and brought Twitter, is because that seems to be the one place that's like this space where people can actually sprout facts and have these conversations and bring forward ideas and debunk ideas. And you just don't get that when you're getting spoon-fed this shit that the main media outlets are dishing out. So, yeah, I really applaud him for doing that. And it shows how much it's needed, because this is just bullshit. This is the quality of the content that we see day in and day out in crypto and in mainstream media outside of crypto as well. It's not on.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had clearly gone to, in that interview, they go over it. He'd gone to some websites to get information, and the information on those websites was not, reliable information. Like, I think he went to CoinMarketCap or something along those lines. So we all know, we've been dealing with this for 3 years now. The information on CoinMarketCap as it relates to the HEX, is completely incorrect and is manipulated in a way, manually manipulated to hold it below where it actually should be. Because if you've got a CoinMarketCap website and the name of that website is CoinMarketCap, right? You go to the website, you assume that everything's ranked in terms of its market cap, right? Which is clearly not the case because HEX is on page 3.
Okay, so I'll put it to you, 43. If you wanted someone to write about cryptocurrencies for your agency, would you want someone that is a no-coiner and is sitting on the outside of the space observing, or do you want someone that's got their hands dirty and understands what's going on in the industry? If you want detailed information about what's going on in the space, what do you?
Well, I mean, the more informed the people are, the better it is. I mean, if you want information, but then again, it depends. I mean, because sometimes someone who comes into, someone who can, hey Bluey, how you going, mate?
Hey, go.
Someone who comes in, from within crypto, from a heavily biased perspective, may, paint a picture that they want to paint. Whereas I guess it depends, but I would say as a general rule, I want the person who's going to do the most in-depth research, unbiased and in-depth research possible.
Yeah. So because it works it works both ways. If he is sitting on the outside, not invested, doesn't have any skin in the game, he is totally biased the other way. Like it works both ways. Like to say you're getting an unbiased opinion is not true, because the guy hasn't rolled up his sleeves and bothered to get dirty in it. He's observing from a distance, and it seems like he's observing from a great distance. I don't think you can have a non-biased writer. Like, it just doesn't exist. So you might as well have someone that actually knows what the fuck is going on if you're going to have a writer.
And just on the point of CoinMarketCap, someone who's in the know when it comes to how and what CoinMarketCap actually do in relation to HEX, it is Johnny Chaos, who has something to do with the lawsuit, which was brought against the company, I guess. So he's saying it's manual HTML locking, which glitches when they update because they have to manually intentionally relock it.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Bluey?
Hey, how's it going?
Nice and early, mate. You got
about the quality
coffee
of journalism in the world.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For what it is, yeah. I think I think the light's been heavily shone on that industry over the last few years. So I think all faith in mainstream media has gone out the window. Or if it hasn't,
it was good to see him actually on the show, though.
That's what I said. It was good.
Yeah. I guess that does look to come and face the music. Not everyone does that. Not everyone will do that. So I mean, I guess, and he did say that if HEX is still around in the next bull market and doing well, then he'll write something in favor of HEX and credit Motley Investor in it. So we can.
The thing that concerns me the most, and whether it's biased or not, is the thing that seems to have gone out the window with journalism in general is the whole fact checking side of things. That was their core tenet.
That whole truth thing.
yeah, that whole truth thing. Yeah, that was their core tenet, is fact checking and doing the research, and that's what a good journalist was. They'd find their way and navigate their way to the truth, and that's just fucking non-existent.
Maybe it's just our perception that that's the way it used to be. Maybe it's always been completely fucked.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you fact check back in the day? It's not like you could go and like Google search it. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, maybe the system has just got more efficient now. Like when I say the system, so the way information flows around the world's got more efficient now, so we can.
Yeah, we can call people out on their bullshit more easily. Like as people are
in real time,
saying shit, you can be Googling that shit like as they're saying it, and by the time they finish their sentence, you can be like saying, no, that's bullshit. Like,
Yep. If anything, you think they'd be getting held to a higher standard now, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
People are just getting called out on their bullshit. What's happening, Bluey? What are you up to, buddy? What are you up to? We've had another change in Europe. There's been a daylight saving change. So I've had to go back an hour in my time. So I started an hour. I'm sorry, back. I'd start an hour earlier than I usually start, just to maintain the time in Australia. Because Australia, we just maintain that 10:30 start time. But for you, it sort of threw you out because did you have a time change as well?
I've got no idea, but it was. I clicked on the link and it was like an hour earlier, and I was like, I'm not getting up at 5:30, but
yeah,
6:30 is like already like that's enough.
Yeah. It takes more than the Hex Late Show to get Bluey out of bed in the morning. You're like the Linda Evangelista of the Hex ecosystem.
That's a supermodel. Yeah.
I think she, like, just for a bit of context, she famously said that she wouldn't get out of bed for less than like 30 grand or something like that. Yeah. So I've got, there was DevCon was in Bogota over the last week or two, I think. Not sure exactly when. I've got a clip of Vitalik talking about ETH 2.0, which relates to PulseChain. So I thought it's interesting. Like, he's talking about the priorities post the merge. So it's interesting to hear where he sees the priority, where he sees the priorities as far as upgrades.
So what boxes aren't checked that we are going to be going into in 2023? That's the conversation here at DevCon.
Solving scalability is number one. Like, fees have been low for the past 6 months, so it's a bit easier to kind of back burner the problem. But I think if Ethereum succeeds, we're going to have another bull, and we know what bulls mean for transaction fees, right? It's from the point of view of a user, some bulls can even be something to dread just because of how it makes transaction fees shoot up to $50 or $100 or whatever. And there is a kind of ticking clock on us to solve the issue, and we don't know how long the clock is going to keep ticking. And it's our responsibility to really make sure that scaling is figured out before then. So scaling, privacy is another one. The base layer censorship resistance is another one. Account abstraction is another one. And there's all kinds of complicated ways in which these problems intersect and tie in with each other too. On the positive side, zero knowledge proofs as a technology have just seen a huge amount of progress in the last 3 years, right? There was kind of this big leap that started, I feel, in September 2019 when Plonk was introduced, right? Because from the user's point of view, it's like, okay, Plonk, there's another snark protocol. It looks like it's a little bit niftier than before, but from a deep practitioner's point of view, it's like this very deep philosophical improvement in how we think about snarks, right? Because we're able to basically think about converting things that we want to prove into abstract polynomial equations, and then separately figuring out, okay, how do we prove the polynomial equations? And it turns out that both of those areas are, you can do lots of deep improvements on, and things become, conceptually much cleaner, becomes much easier to progress when you do really start thinking about those two separately, right? And, one side can think about, how do we turn problems that we care about into polynomials without thinking about the other side. And since then, we've seen amazing stuff like Lookup and, more and more interesting things lately. And then on the other side, there is the problem of okay, you have a polynomial equation and, the polynomials are big, but, how do we prove it? And that's seen a lot of progress too, and there's amazing stuff happening with Starks and all that, right? But this conference, I feel, has to some extent sort of been a victory lap for the the facts that technology exists and has practical use now, right? It's everyone is talking about Snarks, and it's increasingly a default thing that you stick into applications that you're building, and that's just totally not what the Discourse was like 5 years ago.
Right.
Mate, could we just play the English version now?
Yeah, I understood up to the polynomial part, and when you started when you started talking about polynomials, I'm like,
You're on mute there, Bluey.
Oh, sorry, Bluey. I had to mute you because I was getting feedback.
Do you guys remember what polynomials are? I remember it back in maths, vaguely. Like,
yeah. Well, poly means multiple, and nomial. So I'm assuming it has.
Yeah, but it's some sort of equation. I think polynomial. I can't remember.
Is polynomial like many points on like a curve or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can the maths
half the time when I read his,
can the maths person please confirm?
Yeah.
Tell us what a polynomial is, or someone can just Google it. Fuck, let me just Google it. What?
Like that's gonna help. This is the test of that thing you were just saying before. As soon as someone's saying it, you can Google it and find out what it is. Except if it's Vitalik and he's talking about.
Sometimes I try and read some of his writings and it just fucking loses me straight away. Like he's obviously at next level, but Jesus, obviously some people can understand. I just get lost in it. Just tell me that it's going to be upgraded and it's going to be better. You're going to get sharding. Privacy's good.
I was looking at that thing that was it you that sent it? There was a link, I think, in our.
Yeah, the railgun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, okay, here's a little bit of history for you. So there's a privacy project called Railgun. There's a team working on it. They seem like a pretty solid team. As it turns out, it's the guy that was one of Richard's devs initially, Kieran, who subsequently came out.
Oh, that's the dude, right?
And smashed Richard. But he's from the same town as I am. So I haven't spoken to him for years and years. But he's a smart guy. And what they're putting together is a privacy protocol, which, long and the short of it is, you can have a normal 0x address and you can send assets to essentially a shielded address. I think it's a ZK labeled address. So then from within that shielded address, you can still do all the things you'd normally do, like interact with dexes and all that sort of stuff. But it's kept.
It's a layer 2. It's a layer 2.
No, runs on layer 1. So it's just a protocol running on layer 1, but you.
It's a new layer 1.
No, it is
on Ethereum.
It is
on Ethereum.
Yeah, it's just a smart contract, runs on Ethereum, and
it's not layer 2.
No. It's basically this contract it'll take in all the assets, and you end up with this big pool of assets. So there's a bit of obscurity there, but you can go off and do what you need to do, and then extract your assets out to a different address. It's sort of like a little bit of a cross between Tornado Cash and like a layer.
Tornado Cash Nova, sort of, like the Nova version.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it gives you that more flexibility where you can do all the things you normally would do in terms of interacting with dexes and the like. So seems pretty good.
It's interesting, but I'm confused about how they achieve that.
It's all to do with the
relayers and
zero.
stuff.
It's all, there's relayers involved, and it's to do with it's all zero knowledge proofs that they're using.
There was two technologies, wasn't there? There was the roll-ups and the snarks, I think, and like one of them, it was just transactions that could bundle up. The other one, actually, they had contracts could be put on it, and that's the one which is the real. They think is going to be the key to massive scaling.
Yeah, at the moment there's a limitation where you can't do NFTs, but I think by the sounds of it, they've got that under wraps, so they're just working on that at the moment. But seems pretty good. Like that's that privacy layer that everyone needs, and without having to move off to different different layers or anything. Yeah. So it's very interesting. I think they've been going.
So the question here from Black Swan is: are we talking about subnets?
No, it's not. The best way I can describe it is like you've got.
What's that protocol called? Sorry, can I just ask? What's this protocol you're talking about? What's it called?
Railgun. Yeah, so it's I guess the best way to put it is you get like an anonymity set because everyone's assets are going into this contract, which sounds like it could be dangerous. But hey, we're used to locking things in contracts these days. But then it just allows you to via that contract interact with other things.
I'm just going to say right now to people like watching, this is in no way, shape or form like an endorsement from us.
Oh no, hell no.
We don't know if this shit works or not.
Yeah.
We don't know if the contracts. I don't know if the contracts are audited or not. We don't know anything about it. So this is just we're talking about something new that's, I guess, on the horizon. But don't go like
you don't need to be the guinea pig
without doing your own due diligence. We don't know.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guinea pig.
No.
They've at the moment there's a fair amount of locked value in it. It seems like it's been getting used for a while. I think it's been running 8 months or so. Like I said, the team looks like they're pretty smart cookies in it. But yeah, it comes with those risks of do your own research. But yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. That's for sure. Especially given everything that's been going on with privacy protocols and things.
So have you guys talked about the Poly announcement last night?
What announcement?
What was that one?
Well, dip catch.
Dip catchers, Poly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, we haven't mentioned that yet.
There was an announcement last night that what they're going to be creating is Poly Water, and it's basically just a donation address for gas fees, but you get this Poly Water token for it, like a prestige thing or something like that. And so it's pretty interesting. Like if you've got Poly Water, you'll be able to give them you'll be able to give them notes about, I think you should go for this HSI and for this reason and da 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 da. Like you can, and if you've got Poly Water, they'll take more kind of. I think anyone who puts into Poly can give that kind of feedback to them.
And just back up a little bit. So we've got two things going on now. So
what's Poly?
So we've got Poly, which is one part of it, and then you're saying there's a secondary token to that now.
Yeah, called Poly Water. So for people who don't know, Poly is a pooling of Hedron, so that they're going to bid for HSIs with that Hedron, and anything left over is going to be put in a massive.
Who's going to bid for them?
Well, it's going to be them, but with everybody who is involved in the project, giving them their kind of 2 cents as to which ones they should go for.
So there's an element of trust
and how much they should pay for it and stuff. Yeah, it's really interesting. Oh yeah, it's definitely like you're trusting an executor. Well, I mean, you could say you're trusting, or you could say you're giving up all control to an executor to choose which HSIs. But you have a say in it, and it's on chain. Like you write messages to the team on chain. And for instance,
but nothing compels them to follow those messages, though. But they probably would, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting watching that Eric, what's his name, against Sam Bankman-Fried thing. And one of the points that Eric brought up is that like you've got this traditional finance who have fucked shit up so bad for so long, who is just terrible with transparency, terrible with like all sorts of scams, terrible with like so many different things. And then they're coming along to crypto saying, you're going to have to do this and this and this and this. And I'm just like, nah, we're going to build something better. Yeah. And this to me is kind of like in that kind of area. Like
we actually watched that actual clip. We watched it earlier on in the show.
Yeah. Like if you want to take like, if you want to like just do your own version of a company where people pay towards it, like why do we have to take their dumb securities laws, which is like, and then put them on top of us? Like if like in terms of like I was thinking about in terms of like if I was a stock investor, like, and I had this company which was like Poly doing this thing, it's like I feel so much more comfortable giving it to these guys because first of all I know them and I've been following them and watching what they're doing. I know exactly kind of the limitations of what they're going to do more or less. there is this kind of like element of trust involved. But you know what? I feel pretty safe with those guys. And it's like, compared to like investing in something like a stock where you're meant to have all of this financial transparency and all that sort of stuff, but I don't believe it at all. I don't know what these people are doing who I would be giving money for, you know, in terms of expecting work out of them. And so it's like,
do you know one of the biggest things I've found is I've invested in some bloody stupid things. I got involved in a lot of early stage investing in mining companies and tech companies, and when you go in as an investor, unless you're like a lead investor, the chances of you getting fucked over along the way are so high. It's not funny because you end up so diluted down. They change the rules and you've got no say in it because you're a minority shareholder. Like all these rules and regulations they've got in place, they do nothing. There's no real investor protection. At least with crypto, the rules are laid out. You know what the token supply is going to be, how it's going to work. You can see all the active holders. You've got liquidity, so if you want to get out, you can actually exit. Whereas all this other stuff that I've ever been involved in, you're locked. Like 5-6 years down the track, you're still screwed. Like they've done whatever they want to do, and you can't get your funds out. So you're just along for the ride. You're just a passenger.
Can I tell us a little story about the legacy system and the stock market? When I was a young man, I used to play around with penny stocks, and I made a little bit of money. I was like lucky. I was just lucky, you know. I jumped on the right things, and then eventually it caught up with me, and I jumped onto something that just went down. Like, and it wasn't like we're not talking a lot of money. It was like $2 or $3 grand, right? And it just went down. And me being, you know, the hard-headed individual that I am, I just didn't sell, and I hung on to it for like, I just never sold it. And they've been like, they used to send me like information every year about like the meeting and the minutes and all this stuff. And then one day they just stopped sending me stuff. And I went and checked it out like online, and it's all gone. It's just like gone. So it just got, I don't know what happened.
They call it an unremarkable share. So
well,
if
absolutely
it's a small
unremarkable.
amount,
it was absolutely unremarkable.
Yeah, I've had the same thing happen, mate.
And it just disappeared. It's just disappeared. And let me tell you what would not happen in crypto is that if I forgot about like some tokens in my account for 20 years, they would still fucking be there 20 years later, right? They're still going to be there. And that's like in that legacy system, somehow, some way, there was a way that they you know, they got taken away from me. So I don't own them anymore.
Huh.
Yeah, I can tell you what, all the amount of paperwork I get, so with my self-managed super fund, all the paperwork I get from the shareholdings that I have in that, it is ridiculous. Like I'll go down to my post box and I've just got a wad of mail, and it's all useless shit information that they have to by law post out, general meetings and all sorts of garbage that they've got to give out. It's just so inefficient, that system. I think already what we've got shits all over it. Like especially with things like DAOs and stuff like that, they're just super efficient in the way people can instantly communicate and vote, and you just don't get that in the legacy space. So we're already miles ahead in a lot of ways.
So just going back to Polly. So yeah, there is that factor of there is going to be an executor who's going to be bidding on these HSIs, and you know, they've thought about the few ways that, like, let's say the SA comes in and just puts it all in, and you can say how much of your, I can't remember exactly, but you can say how much of what percentage you want to spend on HSIs and what percentage you want to go into a massive Hedron stake. So you can say I want 90% of my Hedron to be spent on HSIs.
Okay, so how are you doing that? So at the point of staking?
Well, that's the thing. It's all signed transactions. So you actually say, and then say in English, you say, I'm not sure exactly. We'll have to look into that. But then so what they're also going to do is have this thing called poly water, because it's going to cost quite a lot of gas. And then they were talking about, there was some game theory about, well, what if you were a whale and you put lots of gas in poly water and then you made the Ethereum gas fees, like you just started minting Z like to no one's business. So he pushed up all the gas fees at the times of the auctions. So then that big player could just come in and make and deter other people from making bids or something like that. But I don't know. But anyway, so there's this poly water thing, and it's pretty simple. It's just like if you want to give to help the gas, because for all the gas costs of that bidding and eventually ending that stake, then you can just donate this thing called, and in return for donating, you get this thing called poly water. And so there's only going to be a limited emission time for that. And so it'd be interesting to see what happens to poly water, because obviously it's a token. People have it. They'll start trading it probably. A liquidity pool will be, and people will speculate.
It's got value because you've put something in to get it. Is it a donate? Is it a donation or a set amount? So for every,
it's a donation. It's completely donation, and that executive can spend that gas in any way, or that Ethereum in any way they like.
So is it? You get so many poly water per dollar, or
it's 369 poly water to an Ethereum.
Okay, so that
but then it goes down over time. There's a short kind of envelope where you can get it, and the emission goes down. So if you get in early,
it's going to have value because it's worth something. You've given up something of value for it, so it will have value.
That's it.
Whether or not it'll have liquidity, that's the other side of it. But it doesn't really matter as long as if it's there just to,
especially if you're giving it away and you just like, I'm just giving this for the gas for the actual.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you would have most people probably would have put in something for the gas anyway. Like if they're putting in their Hedron tokens, they probably would have chipped in for the gas cost.
And I think if you've made some money off Maxi and stuff like that, and the other perpetuals or whatever, and you're into team and them as people, I think that they've done a ton of work, and if you've made profit out of this space because of them, like I could see people being incentivized to say, I'm going to give some poly, I'm going to get some poly with my Hedron, and now that I'm invested in that, I'm also going to give some gas so they can do good bids and do a good job kind of thing. And and you can look through but have you guys seen hexmodel.com? It's an amazing website.
That's the one that I think I seen a tweet come through, and it had a big dial of where you could see the whether I think it had like
it's showing all the HSIs on auction and you've got more details about them, launch bonuses and stuff like that. And
that was an Excel spreadsheet or something, or an Excel file. Yeah, I did see that.
So you can order and stuff like that, and you can just kind of organize yourself a little bit more in terms of looking at which HSIs to go for at auction.
Yep. So that's on the 14th of November.
Yeah, only less than a couple of weeks away. Yeah.
Yep. So distilling all of that, if you don't want to participate in any of these auctions, but you've got a bunch of Hedron and you want to push that over to something like
it's going to be the lazy person's way. It's going to be the lazy person's way for the auctions, because and it's also really smart. I think it's a good pool. Like if you've just got liquid Hedron, you get poly for that. They go and bid with all of that Hedron on various HSIs. They'll be able to bid on big ones probably because assuming they get quite a bit of Hedron, and they'll hopefully snap up some bargains. And in the end, they'll have this big pool of HSIs that are going to be redeemed. I think they're just going for Quattro Cinco ones. I'm not sure if they're going for the other ones. And basically it's like the Maxi in terms of at the end, you can redeem that for all of there's going to be like HEX out of it, Hedron out of it, and ICOSA out of it because all of that Hedron staking. So whatever Hedron is left over.
Hang on. How would you get the ICOSA out of it?
The Hedron is going to be any Hedron left over that's not bidding is going to be used to a massive stake. So that's the intention. Hedron stake for 15 years.
So the intention is to let all the stakes run until maturity.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And then you'll have the
getting pretty complicated over there in the old Maximus environment.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think a lot of people go for it because it's that it is a bit overwhelming looking at how many HSIs and what are your tactics in terms of bidding against other people. And if you're not someone who's used to bidding, especially, like, what are your tactics? Do you just put it one over whatever's one you like in there in the last 5 minutes?
Ending
double the price
if it's a small HSI stake that's a Quattro Cinco, ending that stake in future could be quite could be very expensive.
Look, yes and no, man. I know people are really worried about that. I'm not so worried about that. I made some pretty small stakes before big payday, and even though the gas prices shot up ridiculously, it's still worthwhile for me to end them.
Yeah, but you're talking about now, in 15 years.
Yeah,
the amount of calculations that need to be done to calculate what that.
It'll be about an ETH. It'll cost about 1 ETH.
What are you worried about? Vitalik's got his polynomials onto it, man.
Yeah, he does.
It's all under control.
He certainly does. No, I guess my point is that is actually a really as long as people understand that poly is not, as long as they're clear, they understand that it's not the same as something like Maxi, which is a trustless contract. It's not like Deci. It's not like Lucky. It's not like Trio. It's not like Base.
Well, it is. It is in
no,
a
it's
certain
not
way
because it's not because you're trusting that people are going to make good decisions in terms of bidding, right? So as long as people understand that, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying as long as people are very clear on that point, and if they're clear on that point and they make a judgment call and they understand what they're getting into, it might
that's a feature for some people because it's like
it might be
take the decisions out of my hands. I trust those guys more,
So the I guess the argument I'm making here is that if you're just an individual with a very small amount of hedron, and you are at peace with the idea of that, right? With that trust that you need to have in the executors bidding, then from that perspective, poly might be a good option if you are at peace with that trusted side of it, and you do need to understand what you're getting into. But these guys have created some really, really good products. You just have to be aware of what the difference is between what they've created before and what this is. I think it's important.
Speaking about those small people who are just who haven't got much, they should check out the perpetuals because a lot of the perpetuals are going at a discount compared to HEX at the moment. It's quite funny. Base, if you've got HEX, you want liquid, you can get more base and you're earning interest on it. So that you'll in a year you'll be able to get an extra 14%, and now it's underneath the cost of a HEX. So that's just a simple play. It's just funny. That's a no-brainer. If you've got liquid HEX at the moment, and base is cheaper, and you plan on holding that HEX for about a year anyway, it's gone.
I think even I don't quote me on this, but I thought I looked this morning and Deci was running cheaper than base at one point. It's like it doesn't even make sense. So,
the difference there is that if you do go and buy Deci and still the price is suppressed or not suppressed, still the price doesn't go higher. You haven't got that liquidity. I
guess you can't redeem at the end of the year, and that's true.
And with the Deci as well, not getting hedron out of those protocols, it doesn't matter so much for base. For base, it doesn't matter though because it's so little at the moment what hedron is worth. Yeah. But Deci in 10 years, that could be that hedron could be worth a bit that you're missing out on.
Yeah, but it should, in theory, still run at the price of HEX though, because you're still going to get HEX out of it.
Well, if anything, it should be a bit more than the price of HEX.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're getting that extra kicker.
Yeah,
but it's funny. I think
Maxi actually against HEX dropped quite a bit.
Yeah, has pulled back.
But it's still well above. It's still at a good premium above what it's actually worth. But it's a good time to buy.
It's an extra.
It's getting closer to the. I think it's got about a year's price worked into it at the moment. and it's only 6 months in. Or something. So
it's like a year and a half. It's about a year. There's about a year's worth of, or 300 days. I worked it out. I worked it out like yesterday. And it was about like 300 days. That you'll need to wait until you've got the underlying value there from the accumulated interest.
Yeah.
It's still at a premium. It's still at a premium.
Yeah.
But it's come down a lot from where it was, because it was at 2.42 at one stage, and it's now it's at I think it dropped to 1.38 or 1.37. Yeah. But where we are right now is only 1.28, I think, off the top of my head, or maybe not even that. Maybe
does that include all of the maxi that was burnt? Like, because now there's less maxi, so it's worth a bit. Each maxi is worth a bit more.
I had a spreadsheet where I was running all those numbers. I'd have to go back and have a look now and just see whether that's.
It's about a third of maxi was burnt, hey?
No. It was because it was only 20%.
If you're talking percentages, it really doesn't matter. We're talking percentage. 10%. So,
but let's just
Maxi's
say
28% at the moment per annum. Maxi.
So that's the premium you're saying.
That's the APY.
28%. Yep. So I think out of let's just say 30% was sent to the team contract, and only 20% of that 30% got burnt. Yeah. So it's I don't think it was a
it's under 10%.
Yeah. It wasn't a massive difference in terms of the overall yield over the 15 years.
Let me bring it up, hey.
But what I find funny, what I think is happening with Deci, could be wrong here, is I think a lot of people jumped onto that thinking it was going to do the equivalent of what Maxi did and run at a ridiculous premium. But obviously, so many more people come into it. They didn't get that. It didn't run like that. So now I think people are probably going, oh, okay, well, do I really want to hold this now? And might be selling it back off. That's why we're seeing it.
So this is what we're looking at here. This figure here, 1.46. So to get one maxi, you need 1.46 hex to get one maxi. But if you work out how much how much extra hex has been accumulated, it's less than that 46% extra. It's like,
it's worth 1.24 at hex at the moment, and 111 hedron per maxi. So the premium is at 17.2%.
Right.
Above its actual value.
Mm-hmm. Well, which is not terrible. It's come down a lot from what it actually was. And that'll get to and that'll get to a point where it makes sense to get back into Maxi at some point.
And I think it's getting close to that time.
And Deci will probably do the same as well. Like, you'll get people for whatever reason, people will sell it off, and because they're not getting this extra boost they thought they would get, and then that'll find an equilibrium. And I would expect it. But they all should have traded around NAV. Like, that's what you'd expect them to do in a sane market. But people speculate.
Here's an interesting question. I ran a survey. No one seems concerned that arbing the perpetuals could suppress hex price. What do you guys think? This is an interesting question, right? And it's sort of a question that's been going around for quite a while in the hex community in different forms, because there was always concern about like having, wrapped stakes and all this sort of thing. So essentially, this is another form of that. When you've got permissionless systems, right, these sorts of things can be created. So being concerned or not concerned about it is sort of, in my mind, it's sort of irrelevant. You just got to look at the state of the system. What can be done, what can't be done. This can be done. So adjust the way you play the game, I guess. So for some people, these tokens are a good option. For other people, staking HEX, staking HEX is a good option.
I don't see how arbing them could really. I mean, it goes both ways. So
that's what I was going to say.
Same, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Well, I guess his point is that if people are spending, like, if new entrants into the system, into the ecosystem, are spending their money on Maxi, right? They're not buying and staking HEX, and ultimately you want people to buy and stake HEX. But yeah, I agree with you, Bluey. I agree, both of you. It's like it's a two-way thing. I mean, look at how many Quattro Cinco stakes have been made in the in the Hedron ecosystem that would not have been made otherwise.
Tons,
Only why? Because for that very reason, because people are able to sell them if they want to. So they feel comfortable. Well, if I can sell it, I'll do a Quattro Cinco. That locks up HEX. So people who want HEX, right? People who want HEX, there's less supply.
And it's also like that fictional new person coming in and buying Maxi instead of HEX. That also means that person who is selling the Maxi is not selling HEX. So that's why it goes. That's why it's net negative. It's net the same.
Zero. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think it's slightly on the side of positive, personally. Slightly on the side
economic
of
activity, and economic activity seems to breed more economic activity.
Yeah. But the fact that so many people lock up Quattro Cincos with Hedron, I mean that's a positive, right? That's a positive.
Yeah. And you're always going to see people play that game where they're trying to swing between the different assets, and if it wasn't Maxi, it would be some bloody other thing. It'd be ETH or USDC. So people will always find a way if they're traders and
they see they'll arb. Yeah,
that's right. If they're trying to get that little bit extra out of it, they'll find something to do it with. It doesn't matter whether it's a derivative or not.
The HSI auctions have the same function perpetuals have. People buy staked HEX.
The HS, yeah, that's a fair comment, I guess.
Yeah.
So guys, we've been going for about an hour and a half. How are we feeling?
Feeling all right. I can bring up a bit of a conspiracy theory if you like.
Please.
It might be a little bit dark, but we might as well have a little chat about it.
Just 1 second. Let me get my tinfoil hat.
So we've just seen a mysterious death of someone in the crypto community. I don't know if everyone's been paying attention, but the one of the founders of Maker, he died today or yesterday, early yesterday, in pretty mysterious circumstances. He's drowned off the coast of Puerto Rico somewhere. What makes it mysterious is the tweets he sent out prior to that, where either he's a bit paranoid or there's some truth in his tweets, but he was basically saying that, can you bring that tweet up, Day 43? Is that something you can do so I don't miss?
Yes. Which one? First one?
Go the second one, actually.
Second one.
Go that first one. Go that first one. The CIA one. So this could be the tweets of someone that's having a little bit of a mental break, or there could be more to it.
Do we need to give the context of what happened with the voting that was coming up for MakerDAO?
Yeah, well, I think it's all, and that's what I'm saying. We'll pull it apart a little bit, I guess. But basically, this MakerDAO co-founder, he's tweeted out this particular tweet. He's dropped a few big bombs in there, calling out the CIA and Mossad and the pedo elite. So he basically accused him of running a sex trafficking ring and saying that he's about to get framed for it. So there's a whole lot of mystery just in that tweet. But then if we go down a little bit and keep going down, that one, the one that starts with three possible futures for me. Can we bring that one up? Make that a bit bigger. If you just click on that, that'll open that tweet. Yeah, so 3 possible futures for me. 1, suicided by the CIA. CIA brain damage slave asset. Not sure what he means by that. Worst nightmare of people who fucked with me up until now. I'm sure these are the only options. So either he's super paranoid or he thinks that, or there's some validity to what he's saying there. A little bit cryptic, some of the other stuff he's got there, but definitely gives you pause for concern when someone tweets something like that out and then a couple of days later mysteriously dies. Now, so the thing that Bluey alluded to, did you want to touch on that, Blue?
Well, just that Maker DAO recently voted to was it include USDC? They had to vote to whether USDC would be. Is it they're going to use it as a node or something, or is it?
I think they were somehow going to buy. I haven't read into it probably, so I don't want to put out a misinformation. But there was some linkage where they were going to fund something to do with USDC.
It was taking on USDC basically, and they had to vote, and they ended up, and 75%. It was really strange because 75% of holders voted for that. This and make it was kind of was made to be something that wasn't a centralized. It was a stable coin that you could kind of trust, kind of thing. But taking on USDC means that. Or having most of their, I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't think it was they were going against them. It was more they were going to be. They
were taking on USDC.
That's right. Yeah. So they're buying more USDC or something. Is that what you're suggesting? They're buying more USDC.
Yeah. Well, if USDC is supposedly this, this central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
Already, really. And so now something like Maker is heavily dependent on it. It's basically been co-opted.
Sorry, yeah. When you said they were taking them on, I thought you meant they were going head to head with them, but it was more of like a
no, the opposite.
Yeah. So very.
And so if he would have been I guess the conspiracy theory is if he's a massive holder who would have some sort of influence over that vote.
Man,
you read this? Did you read this by this chat here?
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I was going to put it out there to see if there was any of the Puerto Rican guys that knew what was going on down there.
I mean, we all know that stuff happens because of Epstein and all that kind of stuff. I
want to know what this guy's talking about. What's this guy talking? Paul Sachs, brain dead, probably talking about Havana syndrome. If anyone is curious, what is Havana syndrome?
Havana syndrome was this thing where the American people working at the consulate in Havana were getting these strange headaches, and there was some sort of, but then it continued when they went back to America, and they think there was some sort of technology they were using on them, which was, I don't know.
By the way, shout out to the investor. Great, I guess, interview expose on the Forbes gentleman. That was a great stream. I suggest anyone. We talked about it earlier on in the stream. I suggest everyone goes and watches that stream on Cabana Crypto's channel. And Jexa, by the way, you were actually on the
happy hour.
The happy hour, yeah, your happy hour. Weren't you?
I had to. It wasn't a very happy hour. I had to get out of bed, but it was good to get on with the boys over there and have a chat. I did miss half the show because I stuffed up the time zone, but yeah, it's always good to. It's a shame the time zones don't work out a little bit better because I enjoy getting those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Bluey this morning, it's a little bit of a hard ask to get up at 5:30 for a stream, but yeah, do it occasionally. I think of Happy Hour as our sister channel or our brother channel, I should say.
I read this, right? And that, which is not funny, but then I read this one.
Montezuma's revenge.
The brown note. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if there was a brown note? Special forces in the US have come up with the brown note.
That's not laughing. He's gone to ground.
I mean, what kind of humor works with Agent 43 now?
I got to bring him back on. He's probably cracking himself back there. On that note.
On that note, yeah. I'm going to go to Lou on that note. Yeah, so you guys, final words?
Final words? I don't know how to follow that up. Have fun, boys. Get amongst it. There's all sorts of things to be doing. We've got Polly to play with. Pretty cool stuff happening. I reckon this has been one of the most interesting bear markets we've had going. So,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of building going on. It's good to see. I think coming out the other side of it. But yeah, we've already seen what HEX can do when it gets a little bit of room to shine. So
there's quite a few things that you can claim at the moment as well, hey?
I probably don't want to go down the list of things like that on this stream, just so we're not giving expectations and things. But I've got to be honest. I went
hang out after the stream. Hang out after the stream, Jessa. Louis, I want to. Yeah. We need to chat.
Yeah, cool. All right,
Louis.
All good. Hedron auctions coming in a couple of weeks. We're going to be hopefully. I mean, all the Wattses are done, and all of those images are looking amazing. So I can't wait to sort of get them out to the public, see what they think about them. So that'll be coming pretty soon, I think, and then hopefully Alex has this new platform all up and running soon. Hopefully in the next week would be great. Obviously no expectations, but what's hope? Hope is hopetations. Just got hopetations. Yeah.
What do you think? It's actually going to be. What do you think is going to happen to Hedron? What do you think is going to happen to Hedron? Like with
my prediction was that actually HEX will pump and not Hedron, leading up into the auctions. And straight after that, I said that Gifford and I were actually discussing about it and working out. Oh, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be HEX is pumping and not Hedron. We were working that out in this in the Hedron chat. Just before we went on stream, and we said that same information. And at that time, straight as we were doing that, that's when HEX started to pump. So I think it makes more sense for HEX to pump towards the options rather than Hedron to pump. So
interesting.
What you do with that information, I'm not sure, but that makes way more sense to me. People are not going to. I mean, people have got their Hedron positions. I think who are interested in these auctions. They were buying weeks ago. Getting ready.
The act of going in
after, once all that.
The thing is, right? They go for so long. They go for like 2. It just keeps going. There's going to be a lot on the first day and the second day, and then it tapers off. But there's still quite a lot coming out each day. like for a whole month.
So unless people are actively buying up Hedron to use for these auctions, all we're going to see is Hedron shuffled around as the bids increase, and eventually we will see some Hedron burn. Doesn't necessarily mean there's any buy pressure on Hedron, and just removing some supply. So you can argue that, or maybe the removal of some of that supply might be price positive for Hedron. But I think we all know now the only thing that makes price go up is people buying shit, really. So it's going to be interesting to see whether it does actually have an impact on it.
The other side to this is that people might be buying things like Hedron now to be staking it, so that when
they get the ICOSA,
they get that ICOSA, because that ICOSA, how much ICOSA they're getting is based on Hedron burnt divided by T-share rate. So there's going to be a ton of yield in both the Hedron and the ICOSA pools and the WATSA pools.
There's a lot of moving parts. You can speculate because there's a lot of moving parts. Because the other side to that is, are you better off just buying the ICOSA off the market now to stake that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
like ICOSA is actually
that's two separate pools. Like people could be buying
ICOSA actually pumped quite a bit in the last week. It's gone from about one.
Well, that's gone with HEX. That will go with HEX because there's so much demand for ICOSA, and it's just hitting that ceiling. It's just going to go. If HEX goes up, then ICOSA will go up. It's pretty much the same.
Okay.
That's a cracker. If that's a sign of how these systems are going to work when we get into the bull market. That's going to be awesome,
dude. It's going to be crazy. I mean, you'd have to think there's going to have to be a sell-off of ICOSA at some point. I mean, the demand is just right up there at the moment, but at some point, people are going to have a whole lot of ICOSA, and they're going to want to be.
Where will that go? You think?
It's probably going to go to HEX and Hedron, you know, but or HS. It's probably going to go back.
That's the thing. This is the really interesting thing, and this is what I want to see play out. Because if that does flow back into HEX, pumps the price of HEX, that inevitably pumps the price of ICOSA. So I want to see that feedback loop play out. I want to see what happens. That's going to be really, really cool to watch.
Oh yeah, cha-ching. Yeah.
And what we've got here is we've got the HEX chart. We've got the HEX USDC chart. And we can just see in the last week, just like we saw with the ICOSA chart, we can see that there's been quite a pump in the HEX price, like probably a 40% pump where we are right now, which is nice to see. Hey, after from here we went down and we sort of went sideways there for
a few months.
For at least a month we went just sideways, and makes it very boring when we're just going sideways. So it's now the next couple of weeks we're sitting here in anticipation of these auctions and finding out what effect they're going to have on the ecosystem, the HEX, the Hedron, the ICOSA ecosystem. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yep. Plenty of options now, so you should keep all the degens occupied.
So I think the way to play this is have a little bit. This is where a scattergun approach is probably a good idea. So have a bit of Hedron staked, have some ICOSA staked, have some Hedron liquid. If you do want to make a bid on an auction, you might get a nice little bargain. Have some Hedron that you send maybe to Poly. Water is for people, I guess, who have already made money off of their whole sort of system and just want to, keep it going and encourage that pooling. And then have some Hedron if you want to, and some HEX and stuff if you want to, if price pumps. And so like a game, I think have your many positions, and then because things are going to be very fluid. Like, is HEX going to pump? Is Hedron pump? Is this going to dump or whatever?
There is a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to.
So rather than trying to work out exactly everything that's going to happen, I would just say have a little bit of positions everywhere, and then just wait for the bargain to come along. And when you do see that bargain, then you just snap it up. Like
that's not financial advice, by the way. That's just what Bluey's going to do.
This is game advice. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, guys. Well, I want to big shout out to the chat, everyone in the chat. Thanks for coming and watching. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you here next week. And yeah, hopefully we can get Tangent back. Yeah, we can get the CEO of Bitcoin back on stream next week. What do you reckon?
He's retired from that, hasn't he? He's jumped ship.
He retired from that? Yeah,
he's CEO of HEX now, isn't he?
He's the CEO of HEX. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's a HEX maxi. Absolutely. All right, guys. Stay safe. Peace. We'll see you next week.